Hey everyone, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that's deeply emotional, incredibly complex, and honestly, pretty wild. It's the debate surrounding Malaysia's relocated elephants. This is one of those situations that operates on so many different levels. We're talking biology, international diplomacy, and even a massive financial investigation. It's a fascinating look at what exactly happens when really good intentions on paper meet some seriously tough realities on the ground.
Imagine this. Visitors from Malaysia are at a zoo in Japan. They call out to these relocated elephants in their native Malay language, and the elephants literally seem to start weeping. That is the exact phenomenon that went absolutely viral recently. Observers and activists described it as this profound, deep homesickness. Seeing that kind of powerful emotional reaction from these animals instantly captured the public's attention. And as you'd expect, it raised a massive red flag about their overall well-being.
All right, let's kick things off with part 1, the Osaka transfer. So meet Dara, Amoy, and Kalat, or as they're affectionately known, DAK. These 3 Malaysian elephants were moved from Taiping Zoo all the way to Japan. The idea? They were designated as living symbols of cross-border friendship. They were essentially meant to serve as wildlife ambassadors, showing off Malaysia's rich tropical biodiversity to the rest of the world.
But here's the thing you have to understand. This wasn't just a quick vacation or a temporary loan. We are talking about a massive 25-year wildlife diplomacy and conservation agreement between Malaysia and Zoo Tennoji in Osaka. The transfer happened in March of 2026, and this agreement stretches all the way to 2051. That is a gigantic commitment. And that brings us to what's being called the paradox of care. It's kind of like a giant puzzle where the 2 pieces just don't fit. On one side, you have the official diplomatic narrative, this premium, high-end, international conservation program meant to build global ties. But on the other side, the ground reality being reported by observers is entirely different. They're seeing emotionally displaced captive animals showing real signs of psychological distress. The institutional goals are just totally clashing with the observed outcomes.
Which leads us straight into part 2, the biological mismatch.
So what exactly are activists protesting? Well, to get it, we really need to understand biological mismatch. It's a scientific term for what happens when animals are forced to try and survive way outside of their evolutionary baseline. It's not just about them feeling out of place. It's about the intense physical and psychological toll of existing in an environment that your body fundamentally was not designed for. To put that into perspective, look at the adaptation gap here. These elephants evolved over thousands and thousands of years to thrive in hot, humid tropical rainforests. Moving them to Japan means forcing them to deal with an extreme 4-season climate. When you combine those brutal freezing winter shifts with artificial concrete enclosures that restrict how they move, it places an absolutely tremendous biological burden on them.
Moving right along to part 3, evaluating elephant welfare.
The debate really hit a boiling point around Killet, the 20-year-old male of the group. Right after arriving in Osaka, Killet suffered visible, significant damage to one of his tusks. And we're not talking about a minor scrape here. It required urgent veterinary treatment, and it instantly turned him into the focal point for this entire physical welfare debate.
Now, we're seeing a really stark contrast in how this is being handled. On one hand, official wildlife authorities and zookeepers are assuring the public that the elephants are healthy, treating the tusk damage as just a standard, isolated vet issue. But on the flip side, animal welfare advocates and the public are arguing that this is a glaring physical symptom of severe stress-induced behavior. They're essentially saying this physical wear and tear is a direct result of being confined in a concrete space.
All right, let's look at part 4, the management scandal.
Because, this story isn't just about biology anymore. Let's talk numbers for a second. 53 million. That is 53 million ringgit. That staggering figure is the estimated financial cost of the logistics just to physically move Dara, Ahmoy, and Kalat from Malaysia to Japan. I mean, that is an astronomical price tag for an animal relocation.
And a price tag that huge definitely doesn't go unnoticed. It actually triggered an official investigation by the SPRM, which is Malaysia's anti-corruption agency. They are actively looking into this 53 million ringgit transaction, investigating the ministries, wildlife departments like Perhilatan, and the third-party agents who handled all the logistics. So now you have this massive financial scandal adding even more fuel to the public's demand for total accountability.
Which brings us to part 5, the repatriation mission.
So, what is the proposed solution here? Well, through a highly visible campaign called Selamat Kawan Gajah Kita, or Save Our Elephants, an NGO named PERCOM has laid out a super strict 3-step mandate. First up, immediate third-party ethological and veterinary audits, totally independent of the government or the zoo. Second, rip out those concrete enclosures and replace them with soft earth. And third, sustain diplomatic pressure to eventually get them back home.
Because ultimately, full repatriation is the end goal here. Activists are pushing hard for a return to the National Elephant Conservation Center in Kembalikan. And it makes sense when you compare the habitats. Kembalikan actually matches their tropical evolutionary baseline, giving them real psychological and physical freedom, instead of keeping them in a public zoo exhibit that relies so heavily on human intervention.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. When you digest all of this, the staggering financial costs, the emotional backlash, and the institutional goals weighed against the hard scientific reality of biological mismatch, it begs a really difficult question. Does mere physical survival in a completely foreign, artificial environment actually equal successful wildlife conservation? It's a huge question that challenges the very foundations of how we protect our planet's most treasured species. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep asking the big questions.